The journey is conversations with ordinary people about stories of transformation and how we may have had setbacks in our life and how we persevered through those, how we've learned from those obstacles, and how they've maybe helped us on our path today.
Well, welcome to the journey. My name is Kevin Polke, and I am the host of the journey. And today we have a special guest with us, Peggy Anderson. And I met Peggy. Well, we don't know for sure. We maybe it was 2 years ago. It could have been as far as 3 years ago. And I was doing a workshop in Rockford, and you had came down from Wisconsin, and then we ended up having a conversation afterwards, and then through that through social media and virtual, we've had some other conversations, and I've been following you with some of the things that you've been involved with regarding fitness and wellness, and then also some of the bodybuilding that you've been involved with. Peggy, welcome to the journey.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, not a problem. So whenever we start off and have someone new to the journey, I always want our audience just to kind of get to know you as a person. And starting off with, like, when you have the opportunity for fun, because I know you're busy with your work in the business world, and then you have some young adult, I believe, daughters, right?
I do. Yep.
Yeah, and then obviously all the things regarding your passions as well. So what does Peggy do when she has an opportunity for fun? What does she do for fun?
Well, my version of fun may be a little different than some people's version of fun, but you never know. Yes, with a very busy lifestyle and trying to juggle everything, I really do find enjoyment with spending time with my daughters. I have two, like you mentioned, I have two daughters that are in their 20s, they're adulting now, and one that's still at home. And so I take great joy in spending as much free time as I have with them. You know, that might be taking day trips, it might be weekend trips, even just the couple hours here and there for lunch. So, occasionally I will go to the gym a little more occasionally. But it's really staying physically active, anything outdoors. So I do like to go out hiking.
So when you think about, like, going hiking, and I know that that could be from some local places to, more exotic places, and that, where's a go-to hiking place for you, and then where is one of your favorite places that you've gone hiking, if that's even possible to name one that's favorite?
Sure. I don't remember the exact location, but my daughter and I did do kind of an impromptu trip to northern Wisconsin, visiting some of the different waterfalls.
Oh,
So there are some very beautiful areas there to go hiking. My go-to here locally, though, is one that I am very efficient with my time. So I'm always looking at it as, okay, this is my fun hiking opportunity, but it's also my chance to, therapeutically, right? Just clear my mind. Just get the busyness of the world out and enjoy all that, our creator has, given us and provides to us. So there's a local, they call it Janesville School Outdoor Lab that serves as a great opportunity for me to go hiking.
nice. Yeah. I know for me, that is nature in general, but especially hiking, walking, hiking in the woods. And that woods could be uh hilly, mountainous, or just, in Rockford, we don't have a lot of hills in Rockford. So it could just be out in nature. And for me, similar maybe to yourself, it's a very much a grounding opportunity, and I feel probably um, closest to God when I'm in that space, and I'm less likely to be in my head. Where if I can go to church and I can get into my head, or I can go into other spaces and I could be distracted by something. But usually, when I'm in nature, I can go into that space and be grounded, and so I can appreciate that as well.
Yes, definitely a huge opportunity to feel gratitude
Yeah,
and thankfulness.
yeah, I agree. So Peggy, growing up, where did you grow up? And tell us a little bit about Peggy as a young person, and yeah, tell us a little bit about her.
Sure. I was born and raised on a dairy farm.
Oh,
And so I had three brothers. And so I grew up very physically active and work ethic. Our fun was really going to the tobacco field or the hay field as a family. So, grew up very I mean, hard, it was just, but it was wonderful. So grew up, fast forward, I don't live too far from the family farm, but it really instilled upon me a lot of great values, work ethics, appreciation, because we didn't have much, farming. And I really, gave me an opportunity to, um, just be thankful for the little things. Great values and work ethic. Things like that, and being able to persevere. I mean, it's farming is very unpredictable. So there were a lot of downs, but you still had to keep going. And so I think that really has helped me tremendously in getting to where I'm at today.
sure, sure.
So
And was this a family farm? Was it your father's farm, or was it one generation, or was it a multi-generational farm?
I believe it was three generations. So my dad was the third generation. So
Gotcha.
yeah.
And how many head of cattle, or you said it was a dairy farm? How many head for dairy cows?
At the top, they were probably milking about 53, and
Okay.
that's small compared to these large dairies nowadays. But,
Yeah.
that was big for us.
Sure, yeah. Now, is this what your dad did full time, or was this, he had a full time job and this, or how? And I know farming is full time, especially dairy farming. I grew up helping my uncle in southern Indiana, and that was about 250 dairy cows during that time period. And whew, man, it was it's 6 a.m. If I remember correctly, or 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. And it's like the cows know, and you got to be there, and so
Mhm, mhm.
and so did he do other was he working other things too, or was it just the dairy farm?
Yeah, no, pretty much my dad and my mom were both full-time farmers. They did
Gotcha.
dairies, milk was primarily their income. We
Sure.
did tobacco as a cash crop on the side for a
Okay.
lot of years, maybe had a few beef cattle. And then all the crops pretty much went right back into the animals. Later on in his years, towards, last few years of his life, he sold the dairy cattle, kept some of the beef. Now my mom is still on the home farm and crops the land out, and yeah, so
Gotcha. Yeah, I've had over time, I've had over my career as a counseling and coaching and business coaching, I've had a lot of farm families that I've worked with. And in the past 18 months or so, I started getting involved with an organization called Uncommon Farms, and
mm,
that is a national organization that works with farm families, primarily multi-generation farm families, to help with those things that a lot of times, the farming business don't necessarily have instituted, like HR policies or different things that they can do collectively and have resources. So I've done in 2024, I did four different trainings for that organization, either for the participants, or the leadership team at corporate, and they're based out of Illinois, and that's been a great experience. And some of the farm families I work with it's been a wonderful experience. But it is. It's not easy work, even though I do have a deep appreciation for their gratitude for what it keeps them, again, using that term, keeps them very grounded with that aspect of being able to be um, connected with nature and connected with God from that standpoint. Of No matter what planning you do, you have to be able to adapt. so
mhm, mhm,
so
absolutely, I agree.
so I know I had talked about being in fitness. So how did fitness become part of Peggy's life? When did that start, and yeah, when did that all start, and how did that all come about?
Sure. As I had mentioned, growing up on the farm, I had three brothers, and so I had to hold my own.
Mhm.
And but I would say, I was thinking about this the other day. I think the seed was really sown back when I was around 18 or 19. I think I had decided to get a membership at a local gym. met a gentleman there that actually competed in bodybuilding. I saw him in the local paper and I thought, wow, it was like somebody you could touch, it was somebody that you was local. And then we stayed in touch for a lot of years. But I think that really kind of sowed a seed, and the seed sat there for a while, unwatered for a while, until I went to school, got in the corporate world for many, many years. But my passion is just helping others. And so, I went into starting my own fitness gym for a little bit, and then worked as an exercise director and fitness exercise group fitness exercise instructor for a lot of years for a local gym. At that gym, I met a couple that were bodybuilders,
Mm.
and they watered that seed. And
Sure.
so I did my first competition back in 2011.
Yeah.
And they kind of took me under their wing and helped me with a lot of those things that were unknown. I think sometimes that's a roadblock for us to pursue a goal or a dream that we have, because it's so intimidating, or it seems so unattainable, or fearful, like, where do I start? And that's kind of where I was at, is where do I even start if I wanted to compete in bodybuilding? And so they just helped to just take me through the steps, and watered that seed, and that just led to continuous nutrition and fitness and wellness, and really just focusing on a lifestyle of healthier living.
Sure. And I know that you have over that time period that you then went and started competing. And compared to when I was bodybuilding in the early 80s to 1990, 91, it's changed so much. I mean, the options today comparatively, back when I was competing, there was there was two different federations primarily, and and then they slowly started doing testing, and there was a natural bodybuilding that was happening, but it was very, very small and not really recognized much. But there was no fitness. There was no, if you were a female bodybuilder, you were bodybuilding the same way that where the men bodybuilders were. And there was a masters division, and there was a teenage division, which I started in. And then there was just the men's and women's division. And now I know that there's a lot more options to compete in. So maybe for the audience, yeah, maybe explain a little bit about the different, I don't know what you would say, categories of for female bodybuilding that you can get into.
Sure, sure. So when I was introduced, or when I did my first shows in 2011, there's several federations that you can enter in. So today there's several different federations. The federations that I've chosen to stay with are the ones that are tested, that they're all natural. There's no sports performance enhancing drugs. All competitors are tested. So that was important to me.
Sure.
I wanted to make sure that I was competing apples to apples, right, against people that were sane. We were all natural, even playing field. And so they have several different categories, and each category has different criteria that the judges will look for and then be judged on. For example, for women, there's a bikini category. Um, then there's a women's figure. Then it goes into, some of the federations have what they call a fit body, and then there's women's physique, and then women's bodybuilding. And now they've even added a category, since between the time I took a 10-year break from 2011 competing, come back in 2021, and now there's a women's wellness division. And then the federation that I hold my pro card in right now has another one that they've just added a new category. Um, so in short, there's different criteria. So if bikini competitor, wears heels, a two-piece suit, they want them pretty feminine, but yet lean. You get into a fit body category, they're still looking for that feminine side to it. We wear heels, and but a little bit more muscularity. So leanness still, maybe a little more athletic looking. And then the women's physique category gets into more of the muscle mass, but leanness. And then symmetry is important as well. And then, of course, women's bodybuilding is, you really need to bulk up and get big. They're looking for still symmetry, but big, big muscles, right? And then how does your frame hold that? And so there's a lot of different criteria So when you say bodybuilding, everybody, you're right, thinks of just kind of that one category of bodybuilding, but there's just so many more categories. And for women, that's exciting, because they don't have to think, well, I have to get big and bulky, you know. Yeah.
And so, like for you, obviously being on the farm, being active, having brothers that probably treated you more like another brother, or roughhousing and things like that. I can just imagine. And so, were you involved with like different types of sports when you were in middle school and high school, or was this just kind of like just working on the farm and then get introduced to fitness?
Well, when I was in middle school, I think it was eighth grade, maybe seventh grade, the coaches for the track team really saw my athletic abilities. Now, we weren't allowed to do sports growing up because we had the farm to attend to. We had chores, we had animals that depended on us, we had other commitments.
Sure.
And so we weren't able to do that. But my parents did make an exception with me, allowed me to do track my seventh and eighth grade year. And then, of course, let my brothers pick a sport. But by that time, they're in high school, and then I just continued one sport. I was allowed one sport going through high school, and I chose volleyball.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Hmm.
And so when you well, and maybe we should let you started your first competition was your first started competing in 2011, and then you took a hiatus, and so maybe talk about, because you have more than one pro card, so maybe share a little bit about that, and then I got a couple more other things I want to ask you about.
Sure, absolutely. So I competed first competitions in Peoria, Illinois in 2011. And that was kind of just a practice, right? I competed in what they call the figure category. And I ended up two classes within the figure category based on height. One of them is, and then one is based on age. So or they call it an open class, and then they call it like um, masters, which they say is 35 and older, which I don't think I agree with.
I agree. At 56, I agree with you.
But I ended up taking first in both of those classes. I came back. I had already another show lined up 4 weeks later, and that was at a gym in Madison, Wisconsin here. And that category, I did a crossover. At that time, they allowed us to cross over and do two categories. I did figure category, and then I crossed over into their fit body category. And I ended up taking first in fit body and earning a pro card. And that was with WNBF at the time, which was the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation. Um, Now, in order to keep my pro card, then I would have had to travel and compete in pro classes or competitions. And but I had two young daughters at the time. And the coolest thing about that competition, Kevin, was I think they were 7 and 9, I want to say, and they were in the audience that day. And as I'm up there holding, and it gets tough, right? I mean, you're trying to contract and hold every muscle in your body. I start to wilt a little bit, fade a little bit. And pretty soon I hear this little voice from the audience that says, "Come on, 17." And it was one of my daughters. And it just made me stand right up, and just keep strong. But that was the best thing, whether I won or lost. It was one thing. I wanted to walk across that stage knowing that I did the best that I could, right? No regrets, and it was going to be what it was going to be. And then the second thing, of course, was having my family there. And so after that, I decided, okay, that was a lot of time. I did that. I'm going to take time off. And the cool thing was, my daughters were like, "Mom, we'll support you if you want to do another one." I says, "Thank you so that means the world to me. But you know what? I did that. I'm gonna spend time with you guys. It's about you." So fast forward 10 years, right? So I have had my third daughter, and I decided to make a 10-year comeback and decided to compete in 2021 again, of which I did. And so I competed in a couple shows. I decided to stick with the figure category. And the first one, I won my pro card WMBF in the fit body category. This one, I entered in OCB, which is the Organization of Competition Bodies, and that's an all natural. Stayed with the figure category. And here again, ended up taking first. But the coolest thing is all three of my daughters are there.
Mm.
And here
Nice.
again, winning was not at the top. It was, I'm going to do my very best, walk across that stage knowing I have no regrets. And so I come off of that and I felt like I wanted to try physique, which was adding muscle. You kind of take that femininity out. And so I came back and I trained and ate right and trained and ate right. Tried to get some sleep and do life still. Get up when you're knocked down, forge forward. But I ended up competing last year again in women's physique in June. Took first, but I did not earn my pro card, and that's fine, and then trained a little harder. I had some things to work on, and November's show, then in women's physique master category, I earned my pro card. Two of my
Congratulations.
three daughters were there, so there again, it was just that's what it was about for me. It's just that support and love spoke loudly.
Sure, sure. When I started competing when I was 15 and was done by the time I was 22, and had the opportunity to back then it was much there was a limited amount of pro cards you could get in the open category, in the men's category, and most of the time that I competed was as a teenager. And so I can appreciate what you are talking about. And so when you think of um when you think of the experience when your first round with bodybuilding, and then obviously, it wasn't like you stopped working out altogether in between, and then round two of competing again. What would you say that you learned by going through those experiences? And I don't mean necessarily the winning part, but more of the experience of the training, the perseverance of the diet. Because for me, I think one of the hardest things about competing as a bodybuilding is it's unlike other sports. In my mind, unlike other sports, it's a 24/7, all aspects of your life. It's it's what you eat, it's sleeping, it's training, it's a mental, it's emotional, it's physical. For me, it was also spiritual. So when you think of what you learned about Peggy as a result of not only the training part but the competing part, winning, losing, whatever that means. Yeah, what would you say are some of the takeaways that you've taken from that aspect?
Oh goodness, Kevin, there's so many. There's so much that I just want to dump the truck and, just tell everybody right here and now. But I guess a few things that come to mind that I just want to share and say is it is very tough. I think we are about people that do what I do, that you did, competing. One, anybody that does it and gets on that stage as a champion. We've all gone through the same stuff, right? Like you said, the sleeping, the eating, it becomes a lifestyle, so truly and looking at it from a positive aspect. It's not I have to, it's I get to. And there were times when it would get tough that I would have to have a self-talk with myself and say, Peggy, why are you doing this? Peggy, are you having fun? And just really have to step back. And for everybody that's, listening to this podcast, I hope that you'll, just give yourself grace. I had to learn to give myself grace. If I missed a workout, if I cheated and had a piece of cake, it's okay. It is okay. It is not going to derail you. But sometimes we let that be a trigger and derail us and take us down. And then it's harder to get up. Keep showing up, trust the process. Um, I had to dig deep. And so I encourage everybody that in whatever you do, find your deeper why. Find your deeper why and, just keep getting back up. But for me, what it has done for me in a huge way, even growing every single time, each competition, each time, is huge mental. I'm I'm not perfect, but it has been mentally growing my strength. You're absolutely right spiritually, I can do it without him. Physical health, of course, I'm stronger. I'm staying healthier. I know I'm going doing good things for my body. I'm putting in the right nutrition. So I'm still learning how to fuel my body, So everybody's receiving nourishment in a day, whether it's fuel, water, the people we talk to, the people we work with, what we're listening to, reading to, So treat your body well and it will respond well. Um, and so those are, a few things that and plus being an inspiration. So one of the huge things is I've realized, oh my goodness, my girls are watching. I see them doing things now that I'm like, wow, they're looking at labels, but they're picking healthier choices. They're getting to the gym on their own, and then it's not just about that. They're reading self-help books, or things that just help them be a better person each day. Um, and so those are just some things. I definitely, I think, have grown up on the farm. I've learned resilience. I've had the grit and the fortitude. But going through what I've gone through because it's challenged me, and where was it? Somebody told me the other day, or I heard it again, that said, if you're not changing, you're choosing. And I always say, if you're not, how's that go? If you're not challenging yourself, you're not growing.
Right.
So just a lot of, benefit that I've received. And it's through what I've gone through that sometimes when it gets tough, Kevin, I think about there are people watching. There are people that I want to show that they can do it. So to be an inspiration and motivation for others, my heart and my passion is for helping others feel better, look better, perform better, and also believe in themselves. I believe in them far beyond they believe in themselves, but I'll do that until they believe in themselves too. So yeah.
Well, and I think, obviously, you have on the standpoint of success, meaning like how you were judged, meaning from the criteria that the judges had, you've had, some amazing success, from that aspect of it. But you said something that I think is critically important because it's natural for people to say, I want to win, I want to be able to get first, I want to be able to get my pro card. That's a pretty normal, natural, especially for how much time and energy and commitment someone puts into it. But the reality is that there's no way that we're ever going to be able to control or know who's going to show up that we're going to compete against, right? And at the end of the day, the difference, one of the unique differences about the bodybuilding sport is that outside of the posing routine and holding the poses, like you said, the work's done by the day of the competition. It's done, and it's not like you can like, oh, now I'm going to get serious. It's like, the 12 weeks or 16 weeks or longer preparing for that day is really where it happens. And all we can control is our effort that we put into it prior to that day, and then the day of the show just being able to do what you've been practicing up to that point. And the end result is, the outcome of that, right, isn't about where we place, it's about the journey that got us there, right? And that's really the story. And for me, that's what really was then later the takeaways that then led to, becoming a therapist, starting a business, starting a couple different businesses. It was that template that was probably my biggest gift, not a national title, not being on ESPN. It was more of what lessons did I learn along the way. And I agree with you. Yep, we're being you and even if we're not getting literally on a stage, metaphorically, we are being watched. And how can I choose to walk with integrity, and be able to have that at a mindset, so even when I don't want to make that choice, I'll make the good choice, so I appreciate that. Now, when you think now with what you want to do going forward, Obviously this is a passion for you, so it's to call it a hobby is probably to probably doesn't fully encapsulate what this has been for you. I know that you are looking at possibly bringing the what you've experienced and your experience, your own personal experience and what you've experienced with that. You're looking at doing that, bringing that to another level. What do you have planned for the future?
Sure, sure. Well, I plan to help other people, change habits, to have transformations, because we can, show up each day at a different job or do something differently. But if we're bringing our old self with us, not much is going to change. And so there's beliefs that if we were creative, we were so much younger. And so it's helping to establish maybe different habits so that you can live a much more fulfilling life, and, you know, not be so stressed out or anxious, to get more connected with our world and others, but also get connected with ourselves. And through that, it'll be helping, through coaching, health, life, and connection coaching, in this year and moving forward. And I've been doing some of that, so far, but not to the scale that I think, I really want to help others. And as far as the bodybuilding, yeah, I still kind of consider it a habit, with full time effort,
Sure.
and time. Looking to compete on the pro circuit hopefully in fall of 2026. And so you think it's a long time. And so just with everything that somebody chooses to do, to set a goal, you've had a dream, make each day count. Each day is a gift, and our body is the only one precious, machine that we have. And to show up each day looking for that journey, to stay curious, because you absolutely can. Just show up and know that whatever you did in that day, at the end of the day, be grateful and thankful, and give yourself some reward, like talk good to yourself. You did a good job, you did everything you could. And I think we need more grace, give ourselves more grace. So hopefully that answered your question, but it's going to be through helping more people, through health, wellness, um, connection, and feelings, needs, empathy, all of that good stuff. So,
Well, I think you make a great point, Peggy, about living within the paradox of pushing ourselves and challenging ourselves to grow in areas that may be out of our comfort zone, and at the same time having compassion, grace for ourselves, of the journey along the way. And so I think it's this tension of living within the paradox of both at the same time, that we're not going to grow physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually if we're not challenging ourselves out of our comfort zone, but at the same time, having that grace along the way, that it doesn't have to be perfectly done. It just needs to be persistently done.
oh, you put that in such a great way.
So,
Yes.
so Peggy, if someone wanted to reach out to you, wanted to either just connect with you and maybe get some ideas from you, or be coached by you, what would be the best way for someone to reach out to you?
Sure. Certainly it would probably be via email or phone. I don't necessarily have a website set up at this time, but that would probably be the best. I'm also on Facebook, just under Peggy Anderson. So they could try to find me there. Eventually, I'll have Fit Body Wellness, and coaching will be set up. So
Awesome. Well, Peggy, thank you so much for over the last couple of years for staying connected, and I know that you keep me posted on what's going on with your journey and the excitement of wanting to be involved and wanting to help people. And I always appreciate that aspect of it. And thank you for coming on the journey and sharing your story.
you're welcome. And thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. And so for you, if there was something that Peggy may have kind of stirred up within you that you this time of the year, as we're starting a new year, that be able to take that, share with other people to put that goal out there. Maybe it's in fitness, or maybe it's mentally or emotionally or spiritually, and put that out there and challenge yourself to live within the tension of setting some big goals and striving and putting together a plan for to reach those goals, but at the same time, as Peggy said, have some grace along the journey. That doesn't have to be perfectly done. That it's a learning curve to get there. As
Mhm.
always, I appreciate you being here and look forward to being with you next week.